Welcome to the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. In each episode, we're going to bring you insightful interviews and discussions with top restoration industry leaders. We're also going to delve into their business, the strategies that made them successful, and most importantly, the valuable lessons they learned along the way. I'm your host, Clinton James. I'm also the Chief Marketing Officer at Water Restoration Market. We're a digital marketing agency dedicated to helping restoration companies nationwide secure more high-value water jobs. Now, this show, it aims to provide you with the knowledge and tools you need to excel in the restoration industry. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And welcome back to another episode of the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. I am your host, Clinton.
And I'm your co-host, Bobby Thomas, CEO of Extreme Services.
Man, Bobby's so excited today. He's just stepping on me in terms of the introduction there. That's all right. I paused a little too long there, Bobby.
Yeah, that's fine, man. We got to jump in, man. I'm excited. Let's do it.
Bobby, we're in the last week of March. Tell me about some highlights for your company over for the first quarter of this year.
You know, some of the major highlights for our company, like, I was saying before, it's franchising. So we're finally getting to a point, first quarter, wrapping up first quarter of 2025, focusing on franchising. 2024 was a little bit of a rough year for not only myself, but a lot of restoration companies. So we're starting to swing back up again, focusing on selling franchisees and giving them the support that they really need. So that's kind of what our focus has been on first quarter of 2025.
Awesome. I think we'll have another episode where you can talk a little bit about that process. And I'd really love to hear what you think differentiates you and the franchisee relationship that you're setting up versus what we see in the marketplace today. But that's not what we're going to talk about today, Bobby. Today, we're going to talk about building a restoration brand, right? A brand that is recognized in the community as the go-to expert for restoration services. So before we dig too deep, let's take a trip down memory lane. Do you remember when you first got started with Extreme Services, and you didn't have a logo? Didn't have a logo. Okay. All right. So when you first got started, you didn't have a logo, didn't have a brand. You're just getting started in carpet cleaning and then restoration. Tell me a little bit about how you came up with the name, and then what was the next step in terms of branding for you?
So my company has gone through a series of name changes because, again, we started as a carpet cleaning company. We started out as Alapan Carpet Cleaning. That was short for Alabama, Pennsylvania.
That's a mouthful, man.
Next name was New Look Carpet Cleaning. That was the next name that we came up with the company. And then we got to Extreme Janitorial because we were primarily a commercial janitorial cleaning office buildings. And then we saw the opportunity to get into restoration. I liked the name Extreme, so we just basically renamed the company to Extreme Services because we're now doing water, fire, mold. It made sense to me because we were doing some more extreme services than your average carpet or air deck cleaning job.
Okay. So once you had the name, or the new version of the name, what was your next step in terms of branding? Did you go out and find a graphic designer that put together this lovely blue shaded logo that you guys have today?
We actually used Fiverr. You know who they are?
I do, man.
Yeah.
I get new restoration companies that are starting off with our digital marketing services, and some of these guys are brand new, right? And they ask me, "Hey, Clinton, can you design a logo for my business?" And while I've got a great graphic design team, I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to be the least expensive route for them to get that logo produced. Nor do I really have the bandwidth with my team going back and forth with design revisions. So I always tell my clients to go to one of two places: Fiverr and Upwork. Right? You can get access to some of the most talented graphic designers all over the world, and it'll cost you a fraction of what it would cost for you to pay an agency like mine to put together the exact same logo. So tell me a little bit about what you did with Fiverr.
So I think Fiverr ended up hating me, man, because I think I had them revise it probably about 15 times. But when it's your business, man, when you're building a brand, you want to make sure it's right. It has to fit your company. This is going on to all your vehicles, your business cards. It's the presentation. it's what you're presenting to the world as your company. So it had to make sense. So we went through a series of multiple revisions. Um, and I think that, one of the things that I did is I looked at a lot of other companies' logos as
Mhm.
well too, and gave them kind of ideas on what my thoughts would be, how to change it up, how to differentiate ourselves from other logos. And that's kind of what we did with Fiverr. At the end of the day, we finally came to the meeting of the minds, and all right, this is it. And so here we are today.
I think Fiverr is a great resource, especially if you're just getting started, because obviously, you're most folks are going to shoestring budget a new startup company there, and I think Fiverr again gives you access to some great graphic designers. And don't be afraid to use one of these international guys. They're super talented. They're great at communicating, and they'll deal with somebody like Bobby who wants to make 10 or 15 revisions on the project and won't charge you an arm and a leg for doing so. There, so I tell folks you can get a great looking logo, get it in all the appropriate file formats for probably less than $200 on Fiverr there. Now, your logo, is there anything that inspired it? Because I know it's got the water drop and it's got the cityscape in the background there.
Mm.
Where'd you come up with that?
So, with us being in the water damage space and fire space, so to me, I'm thinking about water damage. So we have to have water. So water indicates a couple different things. It indicates, water having a catastrophe, water job. Then also it symbolized cleanliness as well too. So and then you have the building on the inside of it, designating that, we're taking care of whatever building that may be, residential, commercial, or the case may be. So essentially, it's the building and then giving like the shine with the across from the water drop, let you know that we're going to take care of you.
I like that. I literally was going back and forth with a new client over the weekend because we're getting ready to do a Google Ads campaign for him, but
Mhm.
he's still got a team working on a website. They're working on a logo. He sent me over some revisions, and I swear to you, most of the revisions he sent over really look more like a plumbing company logo than a restoration company logo. So you just don't be afraid to go back and forth with whoever you're using in that design process because you want a homeowner or a business owner to see that logo and not think that you do something else other than the service that you provide, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a representation of your company. Like you said, don't be afraid to go back and forth with them. At the end of the day, you have to be happy with it. Just because they may not want to make a revision, at the end of the day, you have to live with the decision for the design, that logo, and your reputation. So, yeah.
100%. All right. So once you had a logo, let's talk about where and how you're using that logo and that
Mhm.
brand for your business. Obviously, you've got technicians. So talk a little bit about where are the technicians using it on their hats, their shirts, their jackets, their bags. Do you have your trucks wrapped?
All of the above. So, hats are logo, t-shirts, polos, jackets, rain jackets, company briefcases, company vans. Um, some of the guys even got some logoed shoes. I don't know that they did that on their own, but it's pretty cool.
I like that. I like that. Let's go to the service vehicles for a second. Because I think a lot of guys are scared of the investment and they
Mhm.
don't necessarily think it's going to create a return on investment, right? So, what do you pay? Talk a little bit about the company that did your truck wraps. What did you pay? And what was the mindset going into getting your vehicles wrapped?
So the thing is you want to have a presence in the open field, right? Your vehicle is your rolling billboard. So
Yeah.
ultimately, when your techs are driving, it has your company name, logo, phone number, website, so forth and so on, right? So that has to be present. And then also too, going back to my carpet cleaning days, I remember when I did do the Groupon and I pulled up to a lady's house in my 2000 Honda Accord Coupe with the rug dock in the back. I went and knocked on the door, and of course I wasn't logoed. I didn't have anything. And she was like, "Who are you?" I was, I'm the carpet cleaning guy. She said, "Where's your stuff?" I said, "In the trunk." She said, "Let me see." She came out and looked in the back of my trunk to make sure I was who I said I was.
You're not lying though, because it improves the professionalism of your technician that's going out to do that initial on-site. And when in the restoration space, that initial on-site visit, you need to be professional, you need to be buckled up because when you show up, you're ultimately trying to sell a job there. And nobody's gonna buy a job if they don't feel like the person that showed up at their house is showing up professionally, right?
Right. And then also too, people want to feel safe. You know what I mean? And when you pull up to someone's home and you're in a professional vehicle, logoed, uniformed, they know that they know exactly what you're there for. They've called you, they're expecting professional service. And if the, I mean, first, first impression is the lasting impression. So you want to make that first impression.
All right.
Now, going back to what you were saying as far as who we use to do our wraps, we used a company called Utility Wrap. And my mindset with getting the vans wrapped was we have to start creating our brand, when we first got started. And what we did, I didn't use a whole wrap. So there's different types of wraps you can get. You can get a partial wrap, you can get a half wrap, or you can get a full body wrap vehicle. So what I did a partial wrap. And the partial wrap had our logo, it had our services, it had our phone number, and it was very affordable versus paying, $3,000 to $4,000 for wrap. I ended up paying, I think it was $400 to $500 per van to get wrapped. And it served the purpose for our vehicles.
Okay. So when you say a partial wrap, what portion of the vehicle was actually had that logo, had the contact information, had the services listed?
So the partial wrap, the logo was on both doors
Okay.
with the phone number. On the side, it had the services on both side with the phone number and the website. And on the very back of the van, it had the logo. Like for example, it has a logo of water, fire mode, air. The little icons has the phone number, logo, and the website. So the van is covered all the way around, but it's not the whole wrap. Like what I mean by a whole wrap, they're literally wrapping the vehicle
Yeah, bumper to
with,
bumper.
yeah, with the sheet stuff that they use, yeah.
Now, have you since gotten full wraps on any of your service vehicles?
No, it was never a need to do it.
Okay. Well, now you mentioned that they're kind of a rolling billboard for a company, and I agree with that to an extent, right? I think especially for non-emergency services, if you do carpet cleaning, if you do air duct cleaning, those are great services where somebody could be sitting next to one of your service vehicles in traffic. They see it, it's a mental reminder. Oh wait, I do need to get my carpet cleaned, and then they just remember the name. Maybe they take down. Everybody's got a damn camera phone nowadays, so they could snap a
Right.
picture so they have it available to them. When it comes to emergency restoration services, like emergency water damage, or let's say you have fire issue or a mold issue, those aren't necessarily, there's not somebody sitting in traffic that's experiencing those services that just happens to see the service vehicle. But what I will tell you as a person that does digital marketing for restoration companies, the more often somebody sees your branding in the community, even if they don't take note of it at the time, when they have that emergency water damage, when they have that fire and they're going online looking for a restoration company, if they recognize the name, if they recognize the logo, it's going to make whatever I do from a digital marketing standpoint that much easier for that person to
Mhm.
know, like, and trust the business, right? So
Absolutely.
I think it's a great concept. I think everybody, once you get to the extent where it's affordable for you, should put some kind of wraps on your service vehicles. Again, it instills trust in the person. That person, your technician looks more professional when they show up at the job site there. And I think never miss an opportunity, whether it's emergency services or non-emergency services, to keep your name out there in the community there. Yeah.
Absolutely. And when you get your wrap, wash your vans. Please wash your vans. There's nothing worse than a dirty van. Wash your van.
Especially if you're selling like cleaning or restoration services. If your vans are dirty, that's just a representation of you and your business and how you do one thing, you do all things. So I'm assuming if you're promoting carpet cleaning on a dirty van, you're probably not going to do a good job of cleaning my carpets, right? How often do you clean you guys' service vehicles?
We clean our vehicles weekly.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so we talked about the importance of wrapping your service vehicles. Let's talk a little bit about your technicians because I talk to guys all the time, and I've actually heard that occasionally their technicians will push back on wearing company merch. Now, for me, I wear company merch all the time.
Yeah.
My digital marketing agency is on my chest more than any other brand out there. That includes Nike. That includes Ralph Lauren. That it doesn't make a difference. I'm wearing water restoration marketing stuff most of the time there. When you hire a technician, is it understood that they're going to be wearing your merchandise every time they go out on a job site?
100%, no exceptions. Yeah, they're gonna wear a company shirt. I mean, our uniforms aren't complicated. We're not like some of the other restoration companies where you have to wear a particular like a khaki or anything like that. You're gonna wear either the company polo, the company t-shirt, and a pair of jeans. Now, clean pair of jeans that's not ripped or anything like that. We you have to be clear because common sense ain't too common no more. You gotta tell people what they gotta do.
100%. 100%. Okay, so and you provide at no cost to your technicians, your team
Mhm.
members, this merchandise, right? So you're probably
Yeah.
purchasing merchandise for your team once a year, twice a year?
Um, probably 2 or 3 times a year, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, when you use subcontractors, when somebody else is going onto a job site on your behalf to do work, are you providing those folks with Extreme Services merch to wear?
No, so if we're subbing a job out, they're not getting extreme merch.
Oh,
The
now,
guideline is laid is it's a plain blue or white t-shirt
okay.
and same thing in clean non-ripped jeans. Because on a temp assignment, it's exactly what it is. It's temporary, short term, and you're done with that labor. So that merch is not being provided.
Now, have you gone the route of getting like Stanley steamers or coffee mugs or anything like that with your company logo on it?
Yeah, we do. We have mugs and refrigerator magnets, keychains.
So was it how do you use that to increase referral business, right? Are you giving those away to potential referral partners? Are you giving those away to customers? How are you using those pieces of merchandise with your company logo on it to generate additional business for Extreme Services?
Yeah, so essentially what we do, I mean, it's so powerful once you do a job for a customer and they recognize that you've done a good job for them. Give them a magnet because most people will put those magnets on their refrigerators. Instead of them trying to flip through their phone and Google you, I have a stream services right there on my refrigerator. I can call you back to get your job done. Magnets have shown, in my personal opinion, to be very effective when it comes to merchandise.
I would agree with you, and I'd take it one step further, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning of every year, some of my most successful clients get a calendar made that happens to have their logo on it, right?
Right.
And they'll
Hmm.
use those refrigerator magnet calendars because people like I've got one on there from I want to say it's like a meat delivery service that I use, and I won't forget about that meat delivery service because I'm looking at that calendar probably once or twice a week, right?
Right.
So that's a really good idea, especially when it comes to those magnets, is don't just have your logo, have something that you know that they would, find a value, whether it's maybe you're even helping to promote like a local sports team. So you might
Hmm.
have that sports team schedule associated with that magnet there. It's a great way to make sure that people are actually putting them up and they're looking at them on a regular basis there.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so, some of the other stuff so we recently, rebranded our digital marketing agency, and we're in the process of getting new merch. We just redid our website. We're gonna be getting some coffee mugs, some planners and stuff done with our company logo on it, and I really wanna use it to elicit referrals. So some of the people that send referral business my way, I wanna get
Hmm.
my logo and my branding in front of them on something that they use on a day-to-day basis. 'Cause I don't
Right.
ever want them to miss an opportunity to think about me and refer restoration companies that are looking for digital marketing my way, right? So as a restoration company, let's talk about potential referral partners that you might have, right? One is plumbers, right?
Yeah. Plumbers are one. Absolutely.
Could you see a value in providing that plumber with a Yeti mug or something that has a high perceived value, something that they might use on a week to week basis? Do you think
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, but it has to be exactly what you said. It has to be something that they can use. It can't be just something that has your logo thrown on it like, "Hey, this is XYZ restoration, and here you go." It has to be something that they're gonna remember, that they're gonna use, they're gonna put their hands on, and then they will remember you that way. If someone would, like, for example, if they got me an oven mitt that had my logo on it, if I don't cook, I'm not gonna use that oven mitt. It's gonna be in the drawer.
All right, so let's say, guys, if you're going to go out and you're going to get swag put together with
Yeah.
your company information on it, make sure it's something that has a high perceived value, right? Nothing cheap, nothing flimsy, that
Mhm.
you think that they will use. And the Stanley steamers, the mugs, the coffee mugs, like that, I think that's water bottles. That's great. We're actually taking it one step further with some of our referral partners, and not only
Mhm.
putting our logo on there, but also their business logo on there as well. I think they'll keep it. I think it'll become a much more sticky item. Not sticky as in like literally sticky, but something that they'll
Right.
hold on to over time if it's co-branded with both of our information there. And that's something that I would encourage all restoration companies to do is when you get this branded merchandise, get it in the hands of some of your referral partners so that they're reminded of you, your company, your services on a daily, weekly, monthly basis there. So
Right.
mugs are a good one. I wouldn't invest too much in cheap stuff like pens. I see a lot of pens.
Yeah, no one's using them.
Yeah, the little squeeze balls for stress, like, that was probably great in, like, the early 2000s, but not
Yeah.
there.
Well, here's an idea for you, Clint. I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but we've used this in the past. This is thinking outside the box a little bit. Now, we've worked with some white label companies to put your logo on like air fresheners and things of that nature.
Man, one of my favorite digital marketing, shouts out to my boy Luke. He owns a company called Phaser. They do digital marketing for excavating companies, and he literally has all of these air fresheners with terms that are very specific to excavation. And
Yeah.
he sends those out, and they've got his brand on it. He sent me a few. Luke, if you're listening, I appreciate those. Great idea. Air fresheners in service vehicles, air fresheners in an adjuster's car. They're spending so much time in that vehicle. If you can help it
Right.
smell better and they're reminded of your business, that's a great idea. Yeah, he uses those really, really effectively. Hats are another good one, right? Because people like hats. Like, my hair is going, so I probably need to start wearing more hats.
Mine's
But
already gone, so I wear mine all
But
the
yeah, that's again, high perceived value. Don't go cheap on this stuff. Again, it's a place you can put your logo, put your brand, that will ultimately, potentially get you some additional referral business there. So when it comes to building a brand, a
time.
lot of people think of like companies like Pepsi, Coke, McDonald's, Walmart, things like that. And when it comes to restoration companies, I don't really look at brands as having that kind of recognition power, right? Especially for emergency
Right.
services. So look at the two biggest brands in restoration. They're probably what? ServPro, Service Master. They've got
Bill
brands.
for
Yeah, Belfour, there you go. 1-800 Water Damage is one of their brands there. They've got name recognition, but outside of that, I work with franchisees all day. And they buy the idea of this brand recognition, but that's not really what delivers the jobs, right? But I do think it can be a good complement to the digital marketing services or the networking services that you do, right? So I think I think you should invest in a logo. You should invest in branding for your business. Don't expect that branding to ultimately become the Walmart, the Pepsi, the Coca-Cola of restoration. But it
right.
would definitely go a long way in terms of instilling trust in homeowners when your technicians show up in the door. It might go a long way in terms of soliciting non-emergency services when somebody sees one of your trucks wrapped in traffic there. And then again, on the right merchandise, if you're giving that out to potential referral partners, it definitely can generate some business for you that way as well.
Right. Essentially, what that name does for you and for yourself too is have consistency. That's the key word that you're looking for with building a brand is consistency because customers are looking for good quality service and product over and over and over again. And if you can provide a good quality service on a regular basis with your consistency, you're going to continue to have that customer and and add additional customers as well too because that's what you're looking for. I know me as a consumer, if someone comes to my home and they're like we're talking about well branded, have a professional uniform, come in clean, company vehicle, you know, I have the mindset of I'm going to have a good job done, or whatever I need to have done, whatever that service may be.
Agreed. Agreed. Now, let's take the brand to the next level, right? Because I know restoration companies in some of these major markets that spend a lot of money on radio and
Mhm.
television. That's an investment right there. I'm talking about tens of thousands of dollars per month. I just brought on a new client that literally was doing that, spending a lot of money on getting their brand out there in the community. And they focus primarily on emergency services. And after months and months and months of spending, they really didn't have an ROI to show for it. So I think it's really important if you're going to invest money in things like, your more commonplace medias, like print advertising, like the radio, like television, these really big expenses. It's important to know what you're getting yourself into, right?
Mhm.
You're not going to see immediate ROI from that kind of advertising, especially if your primary focus is emergency services. It really should be a complement to something else that you're doing on the marketing side, whether it's your business development reps getting out in the community, meeting people, networking. Maybe they're networking with people that have, remember that jingle from one of your radio spots or
Right.
remember that TV commercial there. And then as a complement to like digital marketing, which is what we do for our clients, again, if they see that brand, they see that logo, they've seen it on TV, they've heard it on the radio, and then when in that time of need, when they come home and they're standing in 2 inches of water, they hop on Google, they do a search, and one of the first companies that comes up is a brand that they recognize from those things that
Right.
ultimately, generate some ROI there. So understand that if you're going to invest in radio, if you're going to invest in television, branding is really a long play. It really should be complementing other marketing that you're doing for your business. Have you ever spent any money on radio or television?
I have. I spent money on both of them.
Tell me a little about your experience with that.
So radio, for water restoration, like you said, it wasn't a whole lot of ROI for that. It's more so of getting your name out in the community and people recognizing the name when they Google it or see it on Facebook or whatever the case may be, right?
Mhm.
It's all about brand recognition. Same thing with television. You know, you're essentially putting your face in front of whatever amount of people is in your television market, uh, being able to present yourself to a larger audience so that they essentially remember you. Because emergencies happen all the time, but it may not happen for that individual that's watching your ad at that moment, right?
100%.
So the thing is that it's essentially keeping that fishing pole out there, so you stay in the you're at the top of their mind, and when something does happen, you can pull that fish when it does happen. That's essentially what happened for me. Um, but like you said, I mean, on the emergency service side, it's about being found in the right places. And whether that's Google, whether it's uh retarget marketing, whatever the case may be, just to be able to be in front of the people that are looking for you when that emergency has happened. Big media, radio, television, that's a long-term play.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even recommend that to someone that's small,
Yeah.
because it does burn some money, and you have other avenues and other venues to go that will give you a better ROI than television.
If you're not
But
doing at least $3 to $5 million a year,
yeah.
in your business, I don't think, especially if you're in a major market, knowing what those radio sponsorship or those television advertising costs are, it's not where I would spend money. Now,
Mm,
once you get to that 5 million mark,
absolutely.
and again, your service offering is so broad that you're offering emergency and non-emergency services. Well, then, hey, maybe you spend a few $1,000s a month in radio or in television there. Um, Right. So let's do a quick refresh in terms of what we talked about today. If you're a brand new restoration company getting out there, don't skimp. Get a good looking logo, get some merchandise, get a portion of your service vehicles wrapped because it's going to help build your brand. It's going to establish credibility with your technicians when they go online or go out there and do on site visits. And
Mhm.
depending on the scenario, one of your trucks stuck in traffic might be a great billboard for somebody that needs to get some non-emergency service done by your restoration company there.
Right.
Also, don't be afraid to use branded swag, things like perceived high value stuff. Air fresheners, great one.
Mhm.
Coffee mugs, water bottles, hats, things that you can get into potential referral partners' hands to remind them daily when they use that thing. Hey, I got a referral partner that can do that restoration work, so I should send them folks that way. And then last but not least, understand that any marketing that you do is a complement to what you're doing online, right?
Mhm.
The more often you can get in front of a homeowner, even if they don't take action at that time because they don't have a need for your restoration services, when they find you through a Google ad campaign, local service ads, your Google business profile, or your website, if they somewhere in the back of their mind recognize that business name and recognize that logo, it's going to go a whole lot further in terms of immediately establishing trust. And once that trust is established, you're going to get a phone call visit, you're going to get an on-site visit, and you're going to get a chance at locking in that restoration business.
Absolutely. I agree with that 110%. Because again, you're not Serve Pro, you're not Stanley Steamer, you're not the big names in the industry.
No.
But guess what? If you stay consistent long enough, you can become the name that your community remembers and trusts. It starts day one. You stay consistent, stay uniform. Don't use the Vistaprint uniform with the little red guy with the wand. So don't do that. That's so generic. Or the little stick man. You're gonna look professional. But ultimately, if you have consistency with your brand, you take time, you take pride, spend a little extra money. I'm not saying spend a ton of money, but spend a little extra money. Like Clayton was saying, with merch swag, uh, things that your customer will actually use. I think that's going to be key because people send me stuff in the mail all the time, and guess where it ends up at? In it, machine. Yep. So yeah,
All right. Well, Bobby, this has been great. Again, another resource we did mention earlier, Fiverr, Upwork. They are a great resource for you to find a great graphic designer somewhere else in the world that's going to do it for a really affordable price. And from a branding standpoint, if you need help getting that brand out there in the community through digital marketing, feel free to reach out to my digital marketing agency, Water Restoration Marketing. Again, thank the audience for sticking around, listening to the insights, listening to me and Bobby go back and forth. If you like what you heard today, please please follow, please subscribe. We'll be back with some interviews and some more really impactful content for the community. Bobby, anything you want to say to the visitors before we let them go today?
I'm good. Just get your brands together.
Get your Rex together. All right, Restoration Pros will be back soon with more interviews, insights for entrepreneurs and professionals in the restoration industry. And until then, Bobby, you stay safe, you stay dry, and most importantly, man, I hope you stay busy.
You too, man.
All right, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening to the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. If you like what you heard today, be sure to subscribe, share, and also leave us a 5-star review. We'll be back with more interviews and discussions with restoration industry leaders really soon. In the meantime, if you're a restoration company looking to add more high-value water jobs, you can reach me and my team at waterrestorationmarketing.net. Again, that's waterrestorationmarketing.net. I look forward to hearing from you soon.